recommended. So then we set the public hearing for your review and input tonight.
Great. One question. I know one member of council, we do have a large car dealership, as we're all well aware, in our community. If we had, and I know that they would be exempted because they have an existing facility, but if we had another car dealership or used car dealership or something that wanted to utilize our community, what would be the impact? Let's say they had a space for 100 cars, would they then be required for 100 cars, or how would that work?
The Plan Commission actually recommended another clause. It's an exclusion by commission clause that could be added to kind of give discretion to the public service director when they're doing their site plan review. If it's a car lot or something like that, could make the decision not to require them to include those parking spaces.
And that is that written into the ordinance?
That was a Plan Commission recommendation, yes.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for Mrs. Browning from members of council?
Elizabeth, we're going to have comments obviously tonight.
Yeah.
Before we would act on this, we would have amended, we prepare an amended ordinance.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Mrs. Browning? Okay, thank you. Appreciate the information. So for those of you in the audience or those of you on Zoom, is there anyone that wants to speak for the possible ordinance for bicycle parking? I see a comment from Mr. Keith Webb. Could he be recognized, Chuck? Mr. Webb, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. First, I'd like to thank the council for this very important change to the code to provide routine accommodations for bicyclists. It's a good tool to help people know they can use their bike for transportation. I also appreciate, I participated in a prior meeting and made some comments and recommendations, and I appreciate the inclusion of those items in the code. The only point I wanted to make is the one about the safety, the public service director. And in fact, that is what I would call a safety valve that the city of Toledo has in their code. And I just want to read this section of code out of City of Toledo. In this case, for City of Sylvania, I believe it's the public service director may waive the bicycle parking requirements for a particular use if the owner or operator can demonstrate in writing, supported by evidence, that the use does not generate any bicycle usage. So that does provide a good, mechanism. There are certain cases where you would not need bike parking, and that gives the public service director, that ability to waive it where not needed. So thank you very much. Obviously, I'm in favor for this this code. Thank you.
And Mr. Webb, just for the record, if you could provide your address so that we have that for the record.
Yes, it's Keith Webb, 6540 West Central Avenue, Suite Q, Toledo, Ohio, 43617.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
I see we have another person online who would like to speak before we go to her. Is there anybody in the audience? Because I'm going to flop back and forth. Seeing none. Laura, I'm going to butcher your name, so I'll apologize in advance.
Quite all right. My name is Laura McGath. I live at 6959 Williamsburg Drive here in Sylvania. My husband and myself, as well as our kids, are enthusiastic cyclists. We commute to work, grocery shops, shop around town. We do a lot by bicycle. We are very enthusiastic supporters of this proposed legislation and would like to see the full council support.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. The next person online that was interested in speaking for it is a name that many of us are familiar with, Mr. Mishka. How are you doing?
Hey, good. Nice. Thanks for inviting me to talk tonight, Mr. Fry.
If you could, just for the record, provide your address.
Sure. Jason Mishka, 6944 Williamsburg, Sylvania, Ohio. I just want to take a second and give some support for the ordinance. You guys know that I do ride a lot. And one of the other things that certainly has happened with the pandemic this year is, we've seen a huge trend for people wanting to be more active and get out more. Right now, you may or may not be aware that bicycle inventory is almost completely gone, right? So if you go into shops or if you try to look at manufacturer supply, it's completely out. And, that's clearly evidence that people want to be out more and trying to do something more active. I see the mayor out quite a bit riding around town. And we've got such a great downtown area with Dora. And, clearly, if people want to go down there, why not combine the two, right? I think we can both be physically active and, go out and be social when the time's right, and just need to have a place to park our bikes. So totally in favor for it, and hope you give it some consideration as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I do see a hand up in the audience. Ma'am, would you like to speak?
Yes.
Please approach to give us your name and your address.
Diane Phillips, 5036 Valencia Drive. I'm in favor of this ordinance, but I also want to point out that these bicycle racks do not have to be commercial looking. I happen to serve on the Arts Commission of Greater Toledo, and we have many artistic sculptural art bike racks. So you might consider, especially down Main Street, of having it be an art piece and not just.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else online that would like to speak for the ordinance? Anyone else in the audience would like to speak for the ordinance? Anyone in either the audience or online that would like to speak against the ordinance? I don't see any hands. I don't see any comments from online. Mrs. Brining, do we have any other chat boxes that indicate that somebody wanted to speak against it?
No.
What's the will of council in regards to advancing the legislation?
Do we want to talk about it in zoning again? In the zoning committee again? I'm wondering specifically about the part that says we would just like to encourage bicycle parking versus require.
That would be an appropriate discussion to have in the zoning. So, Katie, you're suggesting we refer to the
I'm
zoning?
suggesting that we refer it back to the zoning committee for further discussion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is it ever, before that, just a clarification, Mrs. Brining, is it ever technically left zoning?
Yes, it was referred to the planning commission.
So by referral, we have to refer it back, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. So that will be referred back. So Mr. Hainham, we probably are going to need to have. Pardon?
It's a bigger committee than just me.
I understand. So we'll probably have to try to schedule at the council meeting, a meeting for the zoning committee at the appropriate time during the council meeting. Are there any other matters in regards to this ordinance that need to come before the public hearing? Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. So we're adjourned at 5:47 p.m. for the first in-person meeting. Now, for those of you who are here for the